A very warm welcome to our TV viewers. This is a big issue, also on 97.3 Citi FM. Two key issues we are looking at this morning. The first one has to do with the acceptance speech of Professor Jinano Pokwajima running mate to John Dramani Mahama of the NDC, and a number of the things she said. Essentially, she says the pair want to heal Ghana, and they want to restore Ghana to a path of integrity and a path of decency. They seem to think or claim that the office of the vice presidency has been depraved by the current vice president, who is also the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, and that they will ensure that persons who have plundered the coffers of the state will have to pay for it. They will have to face accountability. This, is said, was not a threat, it was a promise. And a lot of other things they have said. In fact, Professor Jane Nano Pokwajima in that address sought to say that the tenure of John Dramani Mahama from 2013 to 2017 had a lot more positives than we have seen in the last 8 years. And she did also name some of the challenges or failures of this current administration and said that the John Mahama report of 2013 to 2017 would not have any of those things, like the National Cathedral and all of those stories which have not been very complimentary of this government. Will have none of that. That's what we are looking at this morning. Also, we'll look at the SML, but before that, we'll seek to also find out from certain people what her choice has been. We'll look at the SML contract, whether it was even necessary at all for the state to have, engaged SML services to do what people have said. Indeed, the fourth estate that broke the news said that other state institutions like the MPA and even the GRA itself were doing already. What was the essence of that engagement? The president commissioned the KPMG to perform an audit. KPMG submitted its report to the president. The president is keeping that report closely to his chest. It's not released it to the public. But what he has done is to publish some extracts from that report and said that he accepts the recommendations of that report. The recommendations include the fact that the upstream sector or petroleum sector and the mining sector, or the contract that concerns those two sectors, should be terminated because nothing has been paid under them and nothing has been performed under them yet. President says that the GRA and the Ministry of Finance may choose to terminate the downstream one and a whole lot of things. KPMG said that SML is being paid some 1 billion Ghana cedis. SML is pushed back to say that that may not be entirely accurate because that figure is exclusive of taxes and other operational costs, etc. The fourth estate lead, that is Manasseh Azuri, is not happy with some portions of the president's statements, and we'll look at all of that later in the program. This is a big issue. The show is live and interactive. You can join us via our WhatsApp line 020-444-7033, and we'll be happy to read out your comments to the rest of the world. My guest this morning are Dr. Khalid Sharif, who is an assistant professor of financial management, an economist, and also a member of the NDC election 2024 campaign team. Professor Kobe Mensah, political marketing strategist. Franklin Kujo, president Imani Africa, and Eric Chum, who is a member of the MPP communications team. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. I'll start off with you yes, so you do that. Yeah. But let me just put my question and you do that quickly.
Okay, sure.
So in that address, so we are getting to the address.
Yeah, we get
in that address, what did Professor Jinano Pokwajima seek to communicate to the people of Ghana? And you have just 5 minutes to do all that.
5 minutes for that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just be quick on the rebuttal, since Eric is trying to poo-poo on our 24-hour economy. And I'm extending an arm invitation to Eric that I've sought permission for the erudite Professor Danso, the chair of the manifesto committee. Okay. He's more than welcome to attend one of our briefing sessions, and we'll give him the real appraisal of what the 24-hour economy is.
I think the people of Ghana also need that.
It's a democracy, so you're welcome, and we would help you with that, and you would cascade the information down to your communications team and Dr. Baumia. But moving forward, you look at all of these things. Dr. Baumia talks about tax amnesty, which I wonder if he really comprehends it very well within our space, when you're talking about tax amnesty, without contextualizing the disadvantages of tax amnesty. And for me, my worrying concern was the audience to which he was speaking to, which is industry and captain of industry. These are the very people we're going to seek revenue from. If you are promising them tax amnesty, what about those that are compliant in paying taxes? in accordance to the law. What it means is that it's going to sort of like not encourage them to do that. But when we talk about flat rates of taxes and tax amnesty, we are comparing ourselves to countries like Estonia. Estonia just have a population of 1.2 to 1.4 million people, right? That's a structured economy. And we are comparing this to a quasi-structured economy of 38 plus million people. You see, that's not a fit for purpose example when you look at these things. In any case, you have abandoned e-blocks, you have abandoned hospitals that were, constructed by the Mahama administration, and yet still you're talking about going high-tech in terms of green energy. President Mahama has demonstrated that. Go to his house. He drives an EV vehicle. He goes shopping, or his household goes shopping in an EV vehicle. So he's demonstrated it in his daily living, right? And you are talking about green economy.
I wish you didn't go.
No, we are talking about green economy, and we are slapping diesel engines on our tracks, diesel trains on our tracks. We returned from COP28, right, to sign all what we have. And Dr. Bawumia is all over the place commissioning astroturfs. Do we know the impact or the environmental impact on astroturfs, from astroturfs on the economy, or for that matter,
but
the environment?
There's an emission tax.
So these are all issues that we need to address.
No,
but then again,
emission tax is good for the climate change.
You see, as I said, I've invited Eric to this, but we left a lot of money, right? Secured loans in terms of completing the university at Eastern Region. That's the sustainable development one. Why is he not talking about that? What university have you built since except changing names? You haven't done any. The Amari plant, right? You had to move it at a cost of 38 million people. Who brought in Amari? It's not the Mahama administration. So if you say we haven't done anything, that's really quite strange. And you are responding to the 24-hour economy by talking about blue ocean economy when you can't dredge the Odona River. So what sort of blue ocean economy are we talking about? But let me get straight to the point, in which the main reason why we are here, which is to sell our running mate, or to discuss, or as it may. You see, many people, or as you see, do not understand the personality around Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. And we do this devoid of the circumstances of the time when she was first elected. One thing I'll tell you, Salam, what a lot of the media houses, including your sister stations, are avoiding is that 2020 election was characterized by a unique event, which was COVID-19. COVID-19 came with a lot of restrictions, which did not allow for participation, human interaction, because of social distancing. There were restrictions. How could anyone sanely expect Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman to have done what he have done today when we don't have such restrictions? I heard one of your sister stations.
But she spoke also in 2020 at a similar
event,
even at the same venue.
But what I'm saying is that we didn't have all of these issues, because most people are saying that they didn't see the fire in her. But I'm building a premise to all of that because we have such restrictions happening. So it wasn't really free for all reign where we could have had. So it's rather the government that. No,
I think what people are saying is, I don't want to call it the jabs, but there were a few more direct responses to current issues than she did in 2020.
When that happened, that was 4 years into the NPP administration. It's now 8 years. A lot has changed. So what it means is that she's responding to the exigencies of the moment.
No, people have said she has grown.
But she's also responding to the exigencies of the moment. If you know Prof very well, right? She's a professor of literature. That rose through the ranks from a lecturer to a senior lecturer to a vice chancellor. So why would anyone think that she can, off the cuff, deliver such and actually contextualize her speech? But I'll come to that. If you look at leadership, right, appreciating your audience and your ability to communicate to them without words, but in action, in how you appear, is very important. Now, you look at the two personas that we are making this comparison to. Quite often that now we talk about Bawumia because he was a running mate, and we talk about Prof. They appeared before the same auditorium, same capacity, 3,000 plus people. I was one of the ardent critics, even before Prof spoke, when Bawumia appeared in a tireless suit, and after probably about an hour, he was drenched in sweat. So I was like, well, you didn't really gauge your audience. And for me, that was important because a leader should know his audience and know how to appear before them. You could see how Prof immaculately appeared before in traditional garb that reflected the audience and connected with them. Really? This is leadership. Yes, actually leadership.
So if that's the point, then our leaders shouldn't wear a suit and tie
you
anymore.
can. But well, you could try to dismiss this, but that is leadership.
Our leaders shouldn't wear suit and tie anymore. Then.
Well, but do we not advertise for local wears to be?
Yes, but we have some institutions.
So what I'm saying
also
is that yes, so that was
wear.
a nationalistic program, and she wore that to embrace her audience, and that reflected, and you could see the attention in the room. Right. So when you look at all of these things, it's very important. You'd also realize that when she was reading her speech, again, she connected with President Mahama by speaking Gonja. So her thank you was said in Gonja, which was answered. And that was very important. So meaning she had a thought through, or she really thought through.
No, why did she have to connect with Mahama? Mahama is the
well,
boss.
but they are going to work together. The synergy ought to be reflected on the people.
So speaking Gonja.
No, but quite often than not, you have tensions between running mates and presidents and what have you. So, but this was exuding the kind of unity and connection they had. I'm analyzing it from a critical leadership perspective. So let's go within that tangent and perspective.
I see.
All right. So again, you look at all of this. Again, some people say, oh, she read from a teleprompter. They want to see her off the cuff. How many people have not seen Prof? Obama reads from a teleprompter, and you don't have issues with that. Prof reads from a teleprompter, and you have issues with that. What kind of, local bias is this? So I tend to look at, it means that the speech was so perfect, you had nothing to say about it, then you have to resort to her reading from a teleprompter. But all those, or among many people who know Prof, will tell you the kind of persona she is and what she exudes. And I'll give you an anecdote. I met my landlord. I ran into her at Migmat, the supermarket that sells natural foods. So we got talking. She knows I'm politically exposed. And she was like, oh, Sharif, I listened to your woman. I said, what about her? She was like, okay, well, a friend actually prompted me. You know, I don't listen to these things. And I said, yeah, what do you make of it? She said, Sharif, if I'm going to vote, my landlord is 50 plus, middle class, the cantonment kind, Labone kind of middle class person. And he said, for the first time, if I'm going to vote, I'll vote the NDC because of her. So if anyone is confused as to what Prof brings to the table, this is what...
Your landlord says he will vote because of Prof.
Sorry? Yeah.
I see.
I'm giving you an analogy here, right? But again, if you look at the speech, those of us around who ask, okay, Prof, what's going to be your central theme of this speech? She said something. She said it in Akan, and she went like, Achia Nanso Mbuye.
Achia Nanso Mbuye.
Yes, that was what she said.
I think my key is better than yours.
I know, but I'm trying. I've tried at least.
No, you have.
Right? So what it meant is that it's bent, but it's not broken. And if you read through the entire speech or you listened to her attentively, this was the central theme of the speech. Which of the things did Prof say that did not reflect or resonate around the good people of Ghana? Now, if you ask me in summary what the speech was, I would say this is the true state of the nation that no one has delivered to us in the last 7+ years. Prof has summed it all. And what it reflects is that it shows how savvy she is, right? Because all of this are the worries of people on social media. These are the worries of people and concerns on television. These reflect the woes of the average Ghanaian. So if Prof could capture them and her speech encapsulate all of that and reflects the concerns of the average Ghanaian, it tells you how erudite the speech was and how embracing and encompassing it was as far as our problems and the next stage of our future, which is delivering the good people of Ghana from the shackles of the global disrespect we are subjected to, the political scandals we are subjected to, the ridicules a government has been, or the presidency has been subjected to based on the various scandals. So it resonates and reflects the trustworthiness, the confidence in which every government needs. For me, standing in the room and listening to Prof, right, gave me it was like a deja vu when Mahama was elected, because you'd realize that when Mahama was appointed to be running mate for Professor Mills, he received a resounding welcome.
I see.
That speech reflected that. It was a deja vu. And what it says is that the pairs for 2024 were the person of Professor J. Nana Okokwajima as running mate and John Dramani Mahama as flag bearer are a safe pair of hands that would offer Ghanaians the greater Ghana they wish to, or they are seeking to embrace and enjoy.
Very well. Eric, so there's a professor of literature. We saw in her delivery the storytelling, skill of a literature person. So she talked about the report in one breath and the report in another breath. In the first breath, she sought to take on the government. So, for example, she said a report from 2013 to 2017 will not contain things like the cathedral, although she did not mention the cathedral. She mentioned the pit or the hole and all of the things that have come to be associated with that. She talked about the free SHS at war, where she talked about teaching and learning material, food, and students being supplied with past questions instead of textbooks, and that was quite profound. The fact of the Ejapa-like manifesto, clearing malfeasance and writing love letters, prejudicing due process. I mean, obviously referring to Cecilia Dapa's issues where President wrote back, my dear, and all of that. And all of that talked about the economy, the GDP, the city that has refused to be tamed, etc. PDS, excavators flying here and there. These, many have said, have resonated with the people and have reminded the people of the kind of difficulty we are in as a country and why it is so important that in December we try and change course. What do you think about that?
Yeah, but then she was standing on a political platform. And truth of the matter is that she's been a Minister of Education before. And she had also been chosen as a running mate before. And so there's a lot to basically interrogate. And the challenge that I have with the NDC, for example, when we start talking about the prof, is that it's almost as if that she's supposed to be absolved from and taken away from any kind of interrogation. So if she's talking about even education, we saw her stewardship as Minister of Education. What is it that you can point out to as her record in that particular Ministry of Education? I'm sure she should have said that.
No, she said it.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
The shift system,
and then
if
you now do a comparison, and you do a comparative analysis of education under her watch and education under the watch of initially Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh and now Dr. Educhum, the people within that particular landscape, the industry, the players, the stakeholders will attest to a totally different education system as we speak.
Stakeholders?
We are talking about
NAGRATs, etc.
Yes, because
but NAGRATs and co are unhappy with some of the things happening because they say, for example, the students will have textbooks. And we give them past questions.
Listen, they have every right to be unhappy. You understand? You and I, all of us, have had an opportunity to go to secondary school in this country. The issues that NAGRAT are raising are not issues that are new to them.
When I was in secondary school, I had textbooks.
Let me finish.
My time was better than now.
Let me finish. You see, the issues that we have within our second cycle education has nothing to do with the free SHS, for example. These are things that are structural issues that we've had with people are complaining about food. Who doesn't know about terrible boarding house food and all of that? That doesn't mean that when there are specific challenges in specific schools and specific areas, it shouldn't be fixed. That's not the point. But now you're looking at it from a groundbreaking, visionary perspective, and you're saying that you have an economy that is looking to compete on a global landscape. Yet, close to 30 to 40% of all its young people do not get an opportunity to get second cycle education. That is what we are talking about. You know what I'm saying? And so you can do, if you like, banal argument and generalize the conversation and say that, in this particular school, we went there and then there was a broken desk and the food was not as good as it was supposed to be, or they're having specific challenges. And so for that reason, we should bring back an NDC administration that was unable to even provide chalk. An NDC administration that employed teachers for 18 months to a year and decided to pay them for only 3 months.
But you're unable to pay
let me finish. All these things are there for everybody, and it was under her stewardship. An NDC administration that truncated the payment of nursing training allowances and teacher training allowances.
Which should not be able to pay.
Let me finish. Let me make my point.
Yeah, but I reserve the right to make interventions.
But what do you mean we are unable to pay?
No, because we have interacted with some of them who said for many months now that they are owed arrears.
Yeah, well, of course they will be owed arrears, but they are being paid. We have not reneged on that particular promise.
But what's the point really? If they need the money to do something and they've not been paid.
But it was cancelled totally.
Yeah, because the state could not afford it.
Yeah,
and
but
what is happening now is a reflection of that reality.
Let me finish. Right. So all I'm saying is that, yes, you can choose a running mate. You cannot choose a running mate and try to use her as a basis to whitewash an NDC administration. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. And so once you push the conversation to interrogate her stewardship and the stewardship of the NDC administration, all of a sudden they say, oh, you are going after her because she's a female and she's a woman. I mean, come on. The whole point of this political discourse is to make sure that people who put themselves up for
But who has said you're going after her because she's a female?
No, but I've heard several comments on other platforms.
But
and I'm saying
some of your guys have actually gone after her because she's a
female.
No,
it's not true.
No, but
that's what I'm saying.
And the things Wontumi said about the last
Wontumi does not speak for the generality.
No, but he's the chairman of the most populous region.
No, but that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that we can all agree on, even on this platform, to elevate the discourse, right? This woman has been education minister before, you understand? In an administration that was rejected, you understand? Mm-hmm. And now she wants to come back on the back of
Nana was rejected 3 times and became president.
But that is the point, right? So all that I'm saying is that we can have these conversations and say that let's elevate the discourse. Let's now compare the vision proposition of these two main political parties and let the Ghanaian people make a choice. But to move away from that and now even start using words like, oh, the vice presidential role has been depraved. Who has depraved the vice presidential role more than John Mahama? And then what is John Mahama's legacy and record as vice president that you can mention? One thing. And I can mention a number.
Economic management
he supervised
the biggest growth you've seen in the country, 14%.
So now you are speaking for
but I'm not answering the question, but I'm addressing
But I'm saying that you are saying all of these things. And I'm telling you that in that same regard, you are now absolving him from the issues and the almost 4 or 5 years of energy crisis in this country. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm telling you that under the stewardship of Dr. Bawumia as vice president, I can name you his interventions, even in the space of the digitalization space.
But he said he did nothing.
Right?
He doesn't have
He has done all of these things. It's there for people to appreciate. You go to the biggest medical drone delivery service in the world. Is in this country. You have his intervention when it comes to our Ghana card in terms of making sure that people are seen. We know exactly where these people are to use it to formalize the economy. His intervention in the space of almost all the major public sector institutions when it comes to digital transformation is there for everybody to appreciate, right? Now, in all of these things, he has even been on record to admit that, yes, we have faced challenges, but in the midst of these challenges, this is what I am proposing to take us out of this. And that's what you compare. So all of a sudden, we are comparing a running mate to a presidential candidate who is pushing his vision. Let's do a like for like. And that's
so once maybe it's in the absence of your running mate, because I think that the conversation this week.
Has Bawumia been a president before?
No, I think the conversation this week. So maybe vice president as Bawumia and vice president Mahama. That's the point they're making. But I think the conversation this week has been about the running mate position and the fact that the lady has come out to deliver an acceptance speech, and that is the basis for the conversation. So
but even the issue about people taking issues with our flag bearer saying that he's a driver's mate. I don't even understand. I mean, how is it? Do you know how confusing it will be to have 2 drivers driving the same vehicle? Do you know how confusing that would be?
Drivers.
No,
STC has been having that.
So
he was a spare driver.
So he can decide to name it in a
so you can decide to call it
right. Now you can have a mate to drive.
Let me speak to Eric.
Right. So all that I'm saying is that listen. All that I'm saying that let's elevate the discourse. The narrative out there is that yes, we have challenges. We've gone through some issues over the last few years, and we are actually on the right trajectory. We have solutions, bold solutions as we speak, to take us from where we are into the next chapter and next stage of this country. That is a conversation. Now, if you have an NDC administration that over the period to pretending about all the things that we are talking about, even promised e-blocks and the Bill 29. She was the education minister.
And what have you done?
And that but we have completed the ones that you left behind.
How many of them?
No, just go.
Right. And so all that I'm saying is that you can have this conversation back to back. And that is the reason why, in one breath, they have absolutely no policy proposition. So in one breath, they are fighting for positions. And it requires their national chairman to come and stand on a political platform and says that, oh, let's go and kill the game. And once we finish killing the game, we will share the booty. You know, but that's exactly what it is.
No,
you understand what I'm saying? No, but that is exactly what it is. And I'm saying that.
Is that
you see, that is the confusion, right? And the inconsistencies that come with the NDC as a political party, right? And I was expecting that on that particular platform would have been used to push their policy positions.
But
right?
Talk about the 24-hour economy.
But what is
she's
that?
talking about Insanwe Juma.
What is it?
She's talking about Insanwe Juma.
But what is
and how security, energy, and all of that will be enhanced to ensure that there is enough for everybody.
But that is why. But I have told you.
The extension of the maternity leave. All of that are policy propositions.
Listen. I have told you what Bawumia has said.
No, but Bawumia is.
Yeah, listen. I have told. Yeah, I have told you.
Is the candidate.
Yeah.
This one is a helpmate.
But that is the reason. So now we've moved from mate to helpmate to co-driver.
No, these are my words.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
These are my words.
That's what I'm saying.
So we can comes to assist.
Listen, we can interrogate that. You see, and Bawumia's orientation is not one to be superintendent over everybody and be autocratic. So he allows for inclusivity. He allows for people to prefer their opinions on whatever subject it is that it is, and bring a team of like-minded people together to prosecute an agenda. So Bawumia is not going to be choosing a running mate just because that running mate would agree hook, line, and sinker with his vision and ideology. He would choose. I'm telling you, but she stood on a platform and says that, oh, I believe in JM's vision, I believe in this, I'll do this. No, but that's what I'm saying is that Bawumia's orientation is not to choose a running mate that would be believing in everything, hook, line, and sinker, and going by what he says, but would actually contribute when it comes to the
but first of all, you have to believe
no,
the
but
person's
that is
vision.
That is.
And then the contribution she will make, you don't know whether she's made those contributions already.
But that is, you see, when you try so hard, right? You see, when you try so hard to create the impression that this current vice president has depraved his office, and that he has made an analogy of a driver's mate. And so you want to move away from that particular perspective.
From responsibility.
That is when you actually get yourself into this challenge.
Let me speak to Musah Musah. Musah Musah is a pollster, executive director of the Global Info Analytics. He has a few things to say in terms of some numbers in respect of the choice of the vice presidential candidate or the running mate of the NDC, and what, in his view, the polls may suggest in view of her nomination and the subsequent matters arising. Hello, Musah. Thank you so much. Welcome to the program. Do you have, or have you done any work in respect of the choice of Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, and what will that say?
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Cello. Yes, we didn't do any work prior to her announcement, but rather we did that after the announcement was made by the former president. And in fact, that was as part of the April 2024 National Tracking Poll. We asked voters whether they support the nomination of Professor Nana Opoku as Muhammad's running mate. And on that poll, you have 60% of all voters, Ghanaians, saying that they support the nomination of Professor Nana Opoku as Muhammad's running mate. Now, if you look at the regional breakdown of her support, or those who support her nomination, the largest support comes from the Savannah region with 81% of support. Then you have Northern region, 75%, and then you have Greater Accra, 73%, Central region, 72%, Western region, 69%. It is very important to know that Central region, Greater Accra, and Western will be crucial battleground for the 2024 election. So if they accept her nomination, that will be a positive for the MDC, hopefully, if that works well for them in the 2024 elections. Now, if you break it down further in terms of demography, 61% of women support her nomination, and for the men, it's 60%. If you come to the age group, in fact, 18-35, 60% support, 36 to 45, 61%, 45 to 55, 61%, 55 to 65, it is 54%, and the older ones, which 60 plus, 65%. In terms of party affiliation, this is quite interesting. About 49% of MPP voters support her nomination. For the NDC voters, it is 79%. And for floating voters, it's 54%. Other parties, 40% support. And then those who did not disclose a party affiliation is 42%. If you look at educational background of people who support a nomination, junior high is 65% support. Senior high, 60%. Tertiary, 56%. And those without education, 64%. Now, if you look at people's choices of who they intend to vote for and whether they backed her nomination, interestingly, for those who said yes, they backed her nomination, 75% of them intend to vote for Muhammad, while 19% intend to vote for Bawumia. 4% would vote for Alan. So they say, yes, we support her, but we're not going to vote for her. That's the 19% who are voting for Bawumia and 4% who are voting for Alan. For those who said no, they don't support a nomination, 41% of them still are voting for John Muhammad. It means maybe they don't like it, but hey, it's a choice they've been given, so they're still voting for Muhammad based on that. But 45% of those who said no are voting for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and 10% are voting for Alan.
I see, quite interesting, a lot of figures in there. But I was expecting that, given that she's from the central region, the region with the highest support for her nomination will be central region. Rather, it is the northern region. Is there any reason, of course, I know it's a quantitative survey, but did you deduce or infer any reason from why central region, for example, was not the highest?
You know, central is a very tricky region. Really, they are not one of the regions that really, it doesn't really care if you come from that place. You have to be you have to win their heart by merit, not by simply the fact that you are from there. So it's a bit tricky region to look at. And if you look at the sample that we interviewed in the region, you could see a shift in the support. In fact, if you look at data from January to April, we saw a surge in the support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the central region. And obviously, if he's surging in that region for that period, you couldn't see Dinana surging along the same line. Definitely, that would have had an impact. But I'm not surprised that she's not hitting the roof there because central region is very unique.
I see. And so, I mean, in essence, what do you pick up from your work? That the fact of her nomination will improve the chances of Mahama, or other factors rather would lead to maybe the victory of Mahama and not necessarily her choice? What is the electoral advantage, more or less, or in other words, of her nomination to the ticket, to the John Mahama ticket?
Now, we have seen the numbers across various regions. I think what she has brought to John Mahama's campaign is stability in his polling numbers. If you look at John Mahama's numbers in the polls, in the northern regions and the Ghouta region, he is quite stable. He hasn't changed compared to the previous election, frankly. So what we've seen is that there's stability in his polling numbers because of that. If he had changed there, we have introduced new dynamics in the race that could have probably destabilized NDC. Now, Mahama's performance in the poll, let me emphasize, is largely driven by what Bawumia is doing in the region that he's supposed to be doing well. That is where he's lost ground. And I don't believe John Mahama's numbers were driven because of Jenano Okuku's nomination. It is purely because of the way Alan and Bawumia are spoiling themselves among MPP voters across the areas we expect MPP to do well.
Very well. Thank you so much, Musah, as always. It's a pleasure speaking to us on this matter. When do we expect a next poll from the Global Info Analytics on some of these matters? I mean, the contemporary, I mean, the politics of the day, etc. When do we expect the next poll?
The next poll will be in July.
And
that's the next portal poll.
And do we know what the poll will be looking at?
We will revisit some of these issues that we've normally visited all the time, there are certain questions that will remain constant regardless of when we go there. But if certain issues emerge, for example, if we have Baumia's nomination announced, we'll certainly carry out polls on that option as well. So things may be added to the poll depending upon the situation that we find ourselves in. But certain things will remain constant in the polls.
Very well. Thank you so much, Musah Dankwa, Executive Secretary or Director of the Global Info Analytics, and it's a poster. He does quite a number of things and works.
2 minutes for a rebuttal.
Yes, so I'm coming to you.
You've done a lot of
next.
rebuttals.
Your rebuttals have been legendary.
You have done a lot of rebuttals. I mean,
but
I don't think
asking
you
a
think you
question.
should say
I'm asking.
No, but if you talk about e-blocks.
No, wait, I'm asking about the electoral fortunes of this. In 2016, the MPP won the central region by 53.2% to NDC's 43.4%. In 2020, the MPP won again, even though NDC won the parliamentary, 52.71% and 45.87% for the NDC. Though Prof was on the ticket, it did not translate into electoral fortunes for President Mahama. How different is that going to be? Or how sure are we that this is going to improve, given that it's the second time she's coming on the ticket?
But why is that we are all inferring as though the reason why Prof has been nominated is because of the central region? That may be a factor, but it's not a sole factor. You look at Professor Mills, who was a flag bearer and candidate at the time, right? It didn't take him one shot to win the central region. It took time, right? He had multiple chances before he could win the central region. So what it invariably tells you is that the DNA or the political DNA in the central region is not one that draws from who comes from the region. They have their own mind politically in what they decide for. And when that time is right, they make that happen. And for me, that wind is blowing, as you could see, when Prof, even under COVID, made triumphant entries. She spent a lot of time within the corridors. It's not just central region, it's a central and western region. And Prof from Komenda and all of these, under even COVID in Nozemax, toured all of these places, right? And you could see that she's going for a homecoming, which is strategic. Again, this weekend, she's going to have a Thanksgiving in the central region. So it's just not about telling the people that I am your, part of your kin. What she's saying is that these are my policies. So we are selling more of policies to the central region, and we are saying that this is what we have to offer, and we are delivering. If you could see in Prof's speech, there's no way she mentioned that because I'm from the central region. No,
but she won't say that. But we know.
No, I'm just trying
but we know that the NDC has had some affinity for the central region. Indeed,
we've always had
since the Fourth Republic.
Yes, we've always
every ticket has had somebody from the central region on it.
Yes.
One of the reasons is that the central region, the NDC wants to endear itself to the central region, perhaps. And when central region turns up, the NDC does well, or the NDC wins.
Yes.
And the Akan factor, the fact that you will need somebody from the Akan region.
So, but that will tell you that our affinity to the central region is organic. Why do I say this? I mean, in all the attempts.
But they don't always reciprocate
in all the attempts that
they don't always reciprocate that.
No, it's not about reciprocation. They do that. They do it based on what we sell to them as policies and their belief in us. So we are not saying that, okay, Prof Mills had a couple of attempts at the central region before we won, right? So what it invariably tells you is that as a political party, we have shied away from the central region, but we still held on to them. So it's a kind of respect we give to the good people of central region. We say you are the determinants of delivering the good people of Ghana from the shackles of corruption, from the shackles of ineptitude, from the shackles of elitism or corrupt elitism. So that lies in them. And that's what Prof exactly delivered in her speech. But to talk about what the good old professor has done as far as development of these e-blocks, when we talk about teacher allowances, I don't know why we tend to be hypocritical about that engagement. Do we know the number of people that are on distance education, right? Should we give them all allowances? So we'd rather introduce a basic and all-embracing initiative, which is a loan scheme.
The people on distance education, are they in training colleges?
No, have they ever imprisoned anyone for not paying a student loan if you're not employed? No. So if we say, let's go the allowance route, but the training colleges...
Are you saying that they should take the
no, what I'm saying is that, look, we are running...
I mean, the students are listening again.
What are the status
That's why we came up with a no guarantor loan. So that's curing that mischief.
Eric.
Even people could not even find a guarantor to even get their loan to start with. I'm just saying.
Of the 38 teacher training colleges now.
They are colleges of education.
They're not colleges of education. They've been elevated, right? And they award degree institutions. So what do you expect? Our universities not giving allowances. And what we fail to realize, the legacy of allowances right, was such that they were to encourage and bring more people into the fold of teaching and nursing. So if we're beginning to have that attraction, it's about time we revise these things to be in tandem with the economy. So no one is denying what.
So will the NDC maintain the status quo, or the NDC will still go back and scrap the allowances?
No. Let our manifesto speak to that when we launch that.
Yes. You don't have the answer.
I don't want to jump the gun on that, but what I'm telling you is that the solution that we provided, as far as this was most sustainable, which went to the providing loans. In terms of e-blocks, we had Adjoa Saffold back then, who said that she had lobbied for an e-block, and it turned out to be a Galamsey site, wasn't it? So you look at all of these issues, and yet you are saying, what is completion of e-blocks? At the time you took office, what were the states of the e-blocks?
I'm not sure about the Galamsey site, because what I know is she said she lobbied for it to the World Bank, etc., and then she brought some letters which were criticized.
Did you not follow to go and see where the e-block was?
No, so it wasn't the same site.
Was it there?
No, because
was there a building? Like
the site it is
what I mean
now.
Is,
I think it was the site she was talking about.
Yes, so but what I'm saying is that did she really indeed lobby for that?
I'm not sure. I wasn't there, but I don't think so, because that structure was there.
Was there already? So what we are saying.
But I'm not sure about the Galamsey.
Well, we can try to ignore that. Right. That's peripheral to the issue.
Sure.
So again, what we're talking about, you come in, you've not even added a megawatt of electricity, and we are in crisis, which you are in denial, that you are moving a power plant from, you're moving a Mari to Kumasi at the cost of 30 plus billion, when you have not done any of these.
Let me engage them on
the shortages of chalk, 2022. You could read the news. There have been shortages of chalk. Why have you not? But in any case, you should be improving these things rather than trying to prove one point. You've had 8 years, Eric. What have you guys done, for God's sake? Digitalization, and you have a tracker that can even advertise your own initiatives.
No, but the tracker shows a lot of things. So
but it was very faulty. Right?
About 13,000 projects, there's 60 something.
And those things you call projects? What kind of projects?
No, they are projects.
No, what kind of
accountability.
Projects?
I the electoral fortunes. It does appear that the NDC is readying itself to take the central region away. Historically, it does appear that when central region turns up for the NDC, or whoever central region turns up for takes the day, NDC appears to be doing a lot in that region, including the nomination or the appointment again, nomination again of the running mate. What does the NDC MPP think about that? It's obviously, and this is the second time, so she, like Musah said, it gives the ticket stability and all of that. That does appear that the woman is going to go all out to rake in the votes from the central region, which will be to the detriment of the NPP.
I think that, politics, like they always say, is local, right? As we speak, when you go to the central region, there is a brand new fishing harbour that I think it's situated at Salt Pond or so, that is functioning. Yesterday, a couple of days ago, I saw that for the very first time, one of these big vessels have actually docked over there, and that is basically something that is going to now enhance the local economy over there. These are the kind of things that we are talking about. I mean, if you move away from the mere propaganda of a choice to the bread and butter issues, the people will make that decision. It doesn't really, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to this conversation around electoral fortunes and where people come from, like we've all been alluded to in times past, it really never played a role. The reality on the ground is that this person has to go out there and also be part of a campaign that is selling their policies and programs to the good people of this country. And if it's bought, then so be it. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that for us as a political party, and to a certain degree a government, we are too much worried about who the NDC chooses as the running mate. Because you have to focus. You can't be, going into something of this magnitude and be focusing on your opponent. As far as we are concerned, we are going to put systems in place, put measures in place to ensure that we get to every nook and cranny of this country and tell our story. And we believe strongly that our story is strong. It's one that shows innovation, it shows boldness, even in the midst of the challenges that we face, and that one that promises a clear direction. You understand what I'm saying? And so these are the things that we are going to talk about. He tries to poo-poo a tax amnesty and even Bawumia's vision on energy and all of that. And that points to a political party that is bereft of of ideas and
What happened to the
innovation.
Cape Coast
You see,
Airport?
let me finish.
People of Cape Coast.
You see, this interjection is not nice. Yeah, nice.
You did that to
yeah,
me. I'm
yeah,
asking
gentle.
for the
You
Cape
see,
Coast Airport.
Right, and so for
The
me,
Cape
I think that
Airport.
when you're bereft of ideas, then all that you do is poo-poo another person's innovative ideas. For example, this
Like
is a
you're doing
party,
to the 24-hour
right?
economy.
This is an NDC party that at the time that the NHIS was actually being brought, they actually walked out of Parliament. They walked out. It's not possible. That's what they used to say. When oil was brought to Parliament at the time under President Kufuor's regime, right? They said that it was oil palm or palm oil or something of that sort. Yet they were the beneficiaries of that particular find of oil in commercial quantities. And this allusion that you made to that, there was somebody who was chairman of an economic management team, and that the economy had its highest growth, was as a result of an injection of an oil economy for the very first time.
Well, when did
that,
that-
you know,
when did that
and
happen?
let me finish. Let me
finish.
finish. You understand? You can make your argument. You understand? You can speak. You know how to rebut.
so
you
you
rebut
just focus on it.
afterwards,
Yeah, just
right?
focus on it, yeah.
And I'm saying that. So in one breath, you want to take credit for even things that you didn't even believe in. Then in another breath, you find solace or you hide in certain areas by virtue of the fact that you feel that, Ghanaians are going through some challenges and that you should find a backdoor way of coming back into governance. But this whole concept of Ghanaians are forgetful and we are short memories, it's not going to happen this time around because we are going to get them to understand and appreciate the kind of people that are actually clamoring to come back. Right, and we'll compare the records. Then the records are there for everybody to appreciate. And so for me, if you have a situation, and this is a country where sometimes we have to interrogate some of these conversations. And like I made that allusion earlier, if you have a situation where you want to be competitive on a global landscape, and you had an education system that for one reason or the other was preventing close to 30–40% of your young people from having access to second cycle education. How do you develop? How do you compete on a global landscape? Right? And so you would have challenges. And that takes bold leadership for somebody to say that, listen, regardless of all the challenges that we are facing, we want to make sure that the Ghanaian child has education. So all of a sudden you have an NDC flag bearer that says that, he doesn't even believe in the one tablet, one student policy, yet in 2016, thereabout, he was starting the same policy. That double standard.
When did he say
that? No, that double standard is what the Ghanaian people would be made to be aware of. So for example, when we have conversations around how we want to even make sure that we bring our economy from the informal sector into the formal sector, and that means that you have to identify your people. You have to know where they are. Under the 8-year NDC administration, how many national ID cards did they even give out to people of this country? They had an institutional right. They spent loads of money. Nobody got a card. Right? So you have a system that has come into place, and as we speak, close to 18 million Ghanaians have had an opportunity to have a national ID card so that you can transition your economy from an informal one into a formal one, and it's become basically almost a tax identification number. You can do certain things with it, and you have a flag bearer that has innovation mindset, and saying that even today, if you have a Ghana card, which has the same sort of data that you require for a passport, you don't have to go through the trouble of going to now fill out a passport ID form. You go onto a portal, you key in your details, and the passport, you pay for whatever it is, and your passport is sent to you. These are the things that we are talking about.
When is
you
this?
have,
when does this happen? I'm not sure. Is it in effect?
but that is what the flag bearer
you seem to
is
be
talking
giving
about, right? And he has mentioned that. Do you understand? You have a system where, listen, under the NDC, they wanted to do an interoperability system. They were asking the Ghanaian people to fork out $4.6 billion. And then Baumia saw that and said, no, we can't do that for 4.6 billion. And we did that for a fraction.
You have evidence
a
to back
fraction.
this, Eric. No,
but that thing has even gone to court.
Which
They are very court processing. We've gone all the way to this. You understand?
Let's move on.
This SIBNet first. I'm sure you know.
There were some issues.
I'm not saying
I'm talking about the figure he's quoting.
But
can I make my point? As we speak today, right, The system is working. It's probably one of the best of its kind on the global landscape. And we're using it. That you today, you can go into your bank account, transfer money into your phone, and send to another network and all of those
And I get
things.
charged for that.
That includes...
And I get charged for that.
That what we are trying to do
And
when
I
it
get
comes to
charged for that.
financial inclusion.
And I get charged for that.
That's your...
Thanks to your government.
Issue, you know? So all I'm saying is that we have things to compare. And we are not shy to say that, yes, we have faced challenges, there are issues that we have to grapple with. So even today, people are having challenges with power outages and intermittent power supply. Bawumia says that for us not to come back 3, 4, 5 years later and have this same conversation, let's move away from fossil fuel and go into renewable energy. This is my vision. What is your vision?
Oh, yet you are bringing diesel.
We're trying to speak to
commissioning
agenda activists on all of these. But in the absence of that, you know, when will the MPP or Bawumia name his running mate? I mean, we thought it was going to be in March. We don't have that. When do you have any indication as to when we are to expect him to name his running mate?
We are well within time to do that. I mean, you see, there's always antecedent. Bawumia himself, as running mate in 2008, was named in August. In August 2008. The NDC had the opportunity to nominate their flag bearer as far back as a year and a half ago. It took him a year and a half to name it. I don't think that anybody would be sort of railroaded or pushed for the naming of a running mate just for the sake of it. I know for a fact that he's decisive. He knows who his running mate is going to be. He will make the announcement. He will make an announcement when the time is right.
The other lobbyists should back off, you know, and allow Bawumia to make his own decision. Does it appear that the candidates are under some pressure to choose one candidate or the other? Because for a whole group to come out to say the lobbyists should back off.
I don't feel that at all. I mean, even in the recent past, before the NDC named their running mate, there were all sorts of people going around, bandying themselves around, and I mean, pushing themselves out there. That's part of the political landscape. But that decision remains solely that of the flag bearer. Of course, he would seek some kind of recommendation. He will consult. He will speak to the party. He would have an appreciation of what is required to complement his competencies, and he will make that decision. And so for me, this whole idea of lobbying,
there's also this movement that a female should be appointed running mate. Is that suggestion gaining traction within the ranks of the MPP? Names like from the Chief of Staff from Opari has come up. Names like Arina Toshi, administrator of the District Assembly's Common Fund, has also come up. Does it appear that that suggestion is gaining traction in the MPP because of what the NDC has done?
No, but the point is that a choice of a running mate, you see, when we do that, we're probably even debasing the conversation. The choice of a running mate should really not be a conversation of gender. The choice of a running mate should be a conversation around merit, competencies.
But there are women who are also...
Yes, but you're talking about inclusion. Are you serious?
Who are qualified.
And that's just what I'm saying. So that consideration, of course, lies with the flag bearer. But in terms of the fact that at this point in time, the NDC has chosen a female running mate, that by all means we should do so. I don't think that it should be the case. Now, if we find that is a decision that has been taken by the flag bearer, for us as actors within the game, we will support it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I feel that it's all part of a digression from the conversation.
I was on your show with Bernard when Nana Jane was nominated. Professor Nana Jane was nominated, and as you could see, I think your parliamentary correspondent indicated that from all his sources, come March or the end of March, the MPP are going to nominate their
but they are well within
time.
I'm
not saying they are not within time, but it shows a certain level of indecisiveness, because if March was indicated that this was, which we are in April and getting into May, so it tells you some kind of indecision as far as leadership is concerned.
Indecision
Maybe it's not for choice.
Right? So,
No, but indecision.
maybe it's
No,
not
for
for
choice also still means indecision.
No, but
Because
indecision,
when
but you're
choice,
talking
it's not
about,
with
you
you.
know,
what you're
you
doing,
see,
you go. But
I wish, no, but I wish, I wish he did it
demonstrated consistency.
for an individual that has indicated in his book that he's indecisive. I mean, come on.
So kindly
Yeah,
wrap
what
up for me.
happened to the Cater Port? What happened to, you are still paying someone a salary on a V8 and all of these allowances for naming someone to be the CEO of the Cater Port,
now you're
which you don't
digressing.
have in the tracker. You have a Cape Coast, you talk about Cape Coast Airport, people of Cape Coast, but you went around pontificating all of these issues. Your tracker, which is, you say is digital, but in any case, we are talking about continuity in governance. When you talk about Ghana card and the issue, at least give us some credit, cut us some slack. We are all saying that we are developing a nation. We are, for God's sake, we are in 2024. Please, let's have some level of conversations around the table.
What does that got to do with the
Oh,
Ghana
well,
card?
who started? What did we do? Did we not contribute to
No,
it?
Kufuor started.
Yes,
I'm not
and we
sure.
did what we have
But
to
how
do.
much
What
of
did you do?
contribution-
How many?
Say how much
Did you
contribution
issue
you're
even a
asking
card?
this.
Did you have a card under
No,
administrative?
but it's a
Did you
process.
have?
But it's a
No,
process.
8 years, it took you 8
No,
years
it's a
to
process.
issue
They
a
issued a
card.
card.
No, it's
But
a-
they
To
issued
who?
a card. They did the foreigners one as well.
Where were the cards?
Sometime
Where are
in
the cards?
2009.
Where are
there
the
were some
cards?
It's a process.
issued,
If after
you know.
8 years,
All right, so
if after 8
let's
years
make
all you have to
progress.
show is for the
We'll take
issuance
a
of
short break.
cards, then I'm sorry.
We will take a short break. When we return, we will delve into the matters of the GRA and SML contract and matters arising. This is a big issue. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. Just gone by was a discussion on the acceptance speech of Professor Jane-Ann Opoku-Agyeman and some of the talking points around that speech. She says she wants to heal Ghana together with John Mahama and to do a few other things which we discussed. The MPP thinks is same of the old, and there's nothing dramatically different about the pair and about the speech and everything. The NDC thinks that it is the surest bet to help Ghana redeem itself from its current challenges. But that's fine. So we'll make progress and move to the next matter on the plate, which is the contract between the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, and the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML. That contract was essentially meant to assure revenue, for revenue assurance, and a few other things that we'll delve into. The Fourth Estate did an investigative piece which revealed that the SML group or company was being paid huge sums of money for work they were not doing, actually. They went ahead to speak to the officials. They admitted to some extent that they did not, or they were not doing some of the things they had put on their website and their reporting, etc. And so that formed the basis of the findings of the investigative piece. Sometime early this year, based on discussions around the subject, the president commissioned the KPMG to audit the work of SML, GRA, etc., and come up with a report. That report was submitted to the president a couple of weeks ago, but the president issued a statement on the report, essentially accepting the recommendations of the KPMG report. I must say that we do not have the KPMG report. It has not been made public. The presidency is keeping that closely to its chest, and the call is for the presidency or the president to release or publish that report so we all see it and match it against what he has said in his statement. One of the authors of that investigative piece, Manasseh Azuri Awuni, is my guest this morning, and he joins me live on Zoom to help us appreciate his view on the president's statement on the KPMG report and all of that. Hello, Manasseh, good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue.
Good morning, Selom, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. A lot of work you've done in this respect. In 2 minutes, for those who have not followed the SML matter but only hear about it from the middle and all of that, in 2 minutes, give us a quick summary of what the problem was, what you sought to investigate, and where we are now.
Selom, many companies lifted petroleum products, went and sold the products, and then didn't pay taxes. These were politically connected oil marketing companies, or OMCs. The NPA and then the GRA, or the players in the industry, introduced a system called the ERMS, so that if you lifted petroleum products and you couldn't pay or didn't pay your taxes, they locked you out. You couldn't even place an order. Then there were others who were diverting the product because if you lifted a product from here to go and sell in Bolga, and then there was some, when you sell in Bolga, the price is the same because some money is paid to you to cover the transportation. And this diversion was also happening. They deployed tracking systems. So if you go to the MPA, a truck that loads fuel product from Tema can be tracked to Bolga. So if you break the seal in Konongo, it will send an alarm to the MPA headquarters or the command center and you'll be dealt with. Then there was a dilution of fuel product. And there's a fuel marking system that has also been introduced. These measures are being done by different companies. They are paid. And then the ERDMS is linked to customs system. So we ask the customs people that the figures that come through the ERDMS, how useful is it? And they said, look, it helps us to get our figures right, our volumes right. And once you get the volumes right, you get your taxes right. These are all contained in the documentary. Yet we found a company that was claiming to be saving money, checking under reporting, under declaration and diversion. And we told GRA that, look, we have done our checks. These services are being rendered by different companies and are paid by the state. The head of petroleum at GRA was shocked. He said, no, SML cannot be doing that. So we go to SML with GRA officials there. We ask SML, they say, oh no, we never said we're doing those services. I said, it's even on your website. We go there and they say, oh no, this is a mistake. And they deleted those claims. Now, SML's rep on Joy is just claiming that those services they said were just general, but they were specific to the GRA contract. And if they were general advertising your service, why did you delete them after we confronted you? So the services and the declaration which you see in the president's report as warranting the SML contract, the company has admitted they are not doing it. They are only measuring volumes from the loading, from the tank, the big tanks at the depots to the loading gantries. And then we ask, GRA, do you use these volumes, this measurement from SML for your tax purposes? The GRA says no. We wanted to know more, and it came out that the meters at the loading gantries take more accurate readings than the SML meters. And that is the reason the SML readings are not used. And if you watch the documentary, the SML head of engineering, I asked her specific questions. Your meters and those meters at the loading gantries, which of them are the best? He said those at the loading gantries are the best. And those are the readings that go through the ERDMS connected to the customs ICOMs. So if anybody is saying that they have put up a system that is checking under declaration or malfeasance in the system, I also asked a specific question to Christian Suti, the MD, and the question was, did you ever detect any issue of underreporting or under declaration since you started operations? His response is, no, we don't do that. We are not into that. So these are the basic ones. And they also claim that they had saved Ghana 3 billion cedis. And our report, we looked at the increment in the period. That is, the number of people who consume petroleum products in 2024 is not likely to be the same number of people who consume petroleum products in 2026, because more people will buy cars, more people may open businesses or build houses and need fuel or petrol or diesel or anything. So consumption will go up. But these people are making the claim that once consumptions go up, and these taxes they are talking about, or the incremental revenue or volumes, it's when you sell them, you go to buy fuel after this show, every liter that you buy, there is a percentage of tax on that fuel. And so if that tax goes up in 2026, and it's more than what we have in 2024, the claim is that it is as a result of SML's service. Meanwhile, the GRA told us that volume increment, and also from year to year, they introduce new taxes and increase rates. So when you increase the rates, automatically, the taxes will go up and the revenue will go up. If you look at even the period we did work, the GRA said they increased rates twice. So we put these facts to the SML MD, who said on camera that he didn't know about these figures. And they had peddled this information, and then Daily Graphic had it on its front page. He said, those reports were false. And I said, if it is false, it is even on your website as we speak. And that's why you hear him say in the documentary that I don't know of any website matter. Basically, we are now hearing that even they broke procurement laws and public financial management laws and all other laws in the award of this contract. So basically, the crux of the matter is that a company claims to be offering services in detecting, underreporting, underdeclaration, diversion, and dilution. Our investigation showed that they were not doing any of that. We confronted them. They deleted those services from their website. Strangely, the KPMG and then the presidency is repeating those same claims that the company discredited and deleted as the reason for the downstream sector. And in 2023, they even increased the services to cover the gold mining sector and the upstream sector, bringing the value of the contract to over $100 million a year. This is what we reported, but we keep hearing them saying that, look, we said they took $100 million, they haven't taken $100 million. But our report said the value of the contract, as of the time we're doing the story, was over $100 million US. And they have not disputed that.
I see. So the president heard all of that was going on, and then got the KPMG to audit the transaction and all of that. KPMG issued a report. We don't have it. The president obviously has it. And the president has issued a statement on it, essentially asking that the upstream sector part of the contract and the mining sector part of it be terminated. That should come to you as some refreshing news.
Yes, it does. But if you look at how desperate government officials have been in keeping this contract, if you look at how PPA denied approval for single sourcing, but they went ahead, it is refreshing because this the component of the contract that they are supposed to cancel or terminate is the biggest part. The downstream, the gold mining sector, and the external price verification, that is over $90 million US a year. So once these contracts or services are terminated, Ghana is going to save so much money. So it is good news. And so if you find reports from Daily Graphic, which is putting its credibility to the ditch because of SML, goes to write that SML cleared to continue, it is false. And I agree with you that it is good news. But until it is cancelled, we cannot be sure what someone else is going to do with it because the interest here is so high. But we hope and are monitoring to see what becomes of it.
Yes, so that was just one part of the president's directive. But indeed, if the graphic says SML is been cleared to continue, in part that is true because the downstream part of it, the president was of the view that there was a need for a thing like that, so they could continue with that, given the experience they've garnered in the last few years. Is that not accurate?
The story says revenue increment, SML cleared to continue. The part of the contract that is supposed to be continued is even not clear to continue. It has to be reviewed. That is what it says. And it has to go through Parliament for approval because the report says it is a multi-year contract. And that contract is supposed to have gone through Parliament for approval. It didn't happen. So if they say review it and ensure that it goes through these processes, the review has not yet been done, even the pricing. SML was entitled to a percentage of, in every liter of fuel you and I buy. If you bought a liter of fuel anywhere in Ghana, SML was entitled to a percentage as his fee. They said that should be reviewed to a fixed fee. This contract has yet to even go through the parliamentary approval and other anomalies that were detected. So if a state-owned newspaper, which is noted for publishing falsehood about this contract, even in the first place, SML itself said Graphics' report was false, and it is in our documentary. They said it. I don't think Graphic published the right thing.
I see. Yes, we have portions of your video or of your documentary we will play soon. But just to find out, did KPMG contact you as a key participant in all these expose about your views or in the investigative process or the auditing process? Did they contact you at all for your views or explanation on anything?
No, KPMG didn't contact us, and that was strange. We know they contacted SML, they contacted MPA, they contacted GRA. They even went out to contact other sector players, maybe OMCs and others who were not part of the original thing. And I'm even doubting that KPMG watched our documentary, because if they watched our documentary, they would have heard the managing director of SML saying that we don't do and we don't check under declaration. So for KPMG to put it in its report that there might be the need for SML service because there was under declaration in the system, it means KPMG didn't even look at the facts in the report, because they would have heard the SML saying this. So it is strange why they decided to do this without even speaking to, because in previous cases, when I did the GIDA investigation about the youth employment scandal, when the committee President Mahama set up to investigate, started their work, I was the first person they contacted. I gave them the background, I gave them documents, and one of them said, look, after contacting you, 50% of our work is done. But of course, there are questions about the propriety of KPMG in this, because KPMG is providing services for the GRA and also the finance ministry. So civil society raised a number of questions about their independence and potential conflict of interest. But we wait to see the report before we can perhaps go hard on KPMG. From experience, the white paper President Mahama issued on the GIDA report was not as bad as the actual GIDA report. So that's what we are waiting for. But it's still shocking that KPMG didn't find it prudent to even speak to those whose work led to all of these investigations.
I see. So you hang in there. Let me speak to, so we'll play the documentary, portions of it in a minute, but let me speak to Daniel Domelevo, who is a former Auditor General of our Republic. Hello, sir. Good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue. You've been following this, and given your professional eye, what immediately, came to you when all these matters started unfolding, and then the president's statement this week regarding the recommendations of the KPMG report?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. Let me say that I have been following the story, and what I can make out of it is illegality, and unprofessional behaviors. Let me explain. Starting from KPMG itself, I don't see why KPMG accepted to do the audit, because first and foremost, they provide services to GRA and MOF, as Manasseh has said. So they are conflicted, but let's put that conflict aside. That is not a big deal. KPMG cannot accept an illegal contract from the government. The contract under which KPMG was itself chosen to go and do the audit should have been a competitive process. Have they shown us an approval from the Public Procurement Authority, which mandated the presidency to select them as a sole company? You remember when they were selected, I made a point that the presidency wanted us to believe that KPMG is, they use the word, the reputed firm, but then there are several auditing firms in the country. So if the KPMG's contract itself did not go through the public procurement process, that is, either it's a competitive tendering or they have approval from the Public Procurement Board, that they themselves have entered into an illegal contract, which is unprofessional and unacceptable.
Yeah, but we do not know whether that was done for now. It's a question we keep asking. But assuming it was done, then we are fine. But the point is that they've not exhibited any such letter from the PPA or any institution. Very well.
Exactly. So it is necessary for us to know how PMG themselves were contracted. That aside, there are state institutions that have that mandate or have mandate to do that. Under Clause 8 of Article 187, the Constitution provides that the President, on advice from the Council of State, may, in the national interest, request the Auditor General to conduct some audits. Why didn't this request go to the Auditor General? The request will have gone to the Auditor General because, in case, or as it turns out to be, there are illegalities, breaches of the procurement law and the PFM Act. If these two were identified by the Auditor General, then the Auditor General could disallow the contract or disallow the expenditure and surcharge people. So a civil right arises from that. That mandate KPMG does not have. Then also, happily, I've heard that, and I've seen from the website of OSP, Office of the Special Prosecutor, that they are investigating the issue. So there should have been two approaches. One, which is an audit by the Auditor General, which could lead to disallowance and surcharges, then investigation and possible prosecution by the OSP. But the President ignored the constitutional provision and went in to engage KPMG. And I made a point which I want to repeat, that anytime the public cries about wastage, the government wastes additional money. This is an example of it. I don't think it was necessary or it was proper for them to come in. But let me come to the contract itself.
But before you come to the contract itself, you don't think government sometimes is in a difficult position? The government wants to do an investigation and he gives it to a state institution. We say the president will want to clear the people. That's why he gave it to this state institution. Now he gives it to a private, reputable institution to do, like the KPMG, and we still appear to be having issues. What should the president be doing in things like that? We call him a clearing agent. Now he wants to use another route, and we don't appear to be happy with it.
No, the presidency and all of us are guided by the laws of the country. And I refer to Clause 8 of Article 187. And the Constitution provides that, you can read that, the President, on advice from the Council of State, may ask the Auditor General to do some audits which are in the interest of the nation. I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not putting it verbatim. So there is a legal provision over there. But even if the President thinks that the Auditor General is not well placed to do such an audit, he should have gone through the public procurement processes. So they need to let us know.
Yeah, so we don't know that now. So it's part of the things we are requesting that government should let us know, president should let us know. Whether
let's
indeed,
not sweep that. Let's not sweep that under the carpet.
Yes.
Because we may be committing illegality, facing illegality. That's the point I'm making. So the presidency, it is good they come out and tell us which procurement process they use in contracting KPMG itself, because that is very important. Now, can I go to
so now go into the contract itself now.
Yes, the contract itself, unfortunately, I've not read the contract itself, and I've listened to Manasseh, and I've read the statement issued by the Director of Communication from the presidency. And interestingly, on two occasions, they referred to, first, if you look at the recommendations of KPMG as stated in the statement issued by the Office of the President, they recommended under, I think, number C, that the contract should comply with provisions of Section 33 of the PFMA, which, if you read it, it may not occur to you what they are referring to. Under Section 33(1) of the Public Financial Management Act, it provides that once a government institution is entering into a contract which is multi-year, that is beyond one financial year, that contract first must get the approval of the Minister of Finance and must go to Parliament also for approval. So it must be authorized by Parliament as well as the Minister of Finance. We are yet to see if that the contract was subjected to parliamentary approval. If no, it means that the contract itself was illegal. Two, we are talking about a contract which they attempted contracting using the Public Procurement Act. And it is interesting to remember or know that between, I think, June and September 2017, they made 3 attempts to get approval from the Public Procurement Authority Board and failed. And yet they went ahead and now engaged SML as a subcontractor of, is it Blue Sea or Sea Blue or whatever it is, of another company.
Blue Sea. Blue Sea.
Is it Blue Sea or Sea Blue, whatever it is.
West Blue, sorry, West Blue. West Blue,
yes, West Blue. So they engaged through West Blue. So there again, I think there is a breach of procurement law. So interestingly, I read a release from SML, which says that they have now consolidated the contracts under the Public Procurement Authority or following Public Procurement Law. And I was like, you were able to consolidate illegal contracts? Well, we are yet to see that. So from my point of view, I think there were a lot of illegalities. And I am very happy that, and I went to the website of OSP, that is the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and it is one of the issues being investigated. I'm sure after his investigation, if there is the need to prosecute, then the details will come out. But about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I asked the presidency to make the report available so we can all read the report. So now that they have finished taking their position on the report, I think it is time to publish the report for all of us to read and see what is inside there.
That's the call we are all making. But in terms of the procurement or alleged procurement breaches, paragraph 2 under the heading of findings in the president's statement says that, I mean, a portion of it says that following the change of leadership at the GRA, the new leadership sought to regularize the contracts with SML on 27th August 2020. And on the 27th August 2020, PPA ratified the procurement processes used to engage SML. So if the PPA now ratified the processes, then it cures any illegality that might have been committed, because there is a reason for the ratification and regularization, because the law contemplated or contemplates that situations like this may arise. So it is important to have a regularization or a ratification of the contract. What do you say to that?
Read, I think, Section 91. I don't remember. I'm just quoting from my head. Read Section 91 or 92 of the Public Procurement Act. The mandate to ratify contracts does not accrue to the PPA's board unless they do an investigation. And it is following the investigation before they can do ratification. So in that case, they'll have to put that report also in the public domain for us to see what they found out, what they found in the course of their investigation, as a result of which they are ratifying. So it's not straightforward like that. At times we just use words to cover up everything. If it is true that there was ratification, then it means there was an independent investigation done or commissioned by the Public Procurement Authority. You can check, I think it is Section 91 or 92. I remember roughly in my mind.
Yeah.
So if you take that, then there is also another report they have to give us. They must have to show us what did the Public Procurement Authority Board see based upon the investigation, as a result of which they ratified. So ratification is not something like you just did something wrong, you come and then we ratify. No, you have to investigate.
I see. But given how the PPA board refused the contract or the terms, the processes to single source the contract to SML on a number of occasions between June and September of 2019, you don't think that the same PPA board would have done or gone through the right processes in regularizing or ratifying the contract in the absence of any other information we may have?
I don't think so, because just as you said, the leadership of GRA changed. and the new leadership wanted to do new things, it is possible the composition or the leadership of PPA might have also changed or something like that, as a result of which now they are accepted. So we cannot give them the benefit of the doubt. The evidence exists, so they should put it in the public domain for us to be able to answer that. But if they don't even put it in the public domain, I am happy that the OSP is investigating, and I'm sure the OSP will go into all that to see whether they actually ratified or they were just endorsing an illegality.
Very well. So we are all calling for the report to be made public, but you have made two other calls that a report or a letter, authorizing the selection of KPMG should be made public if indeed there was any such letter from the PPA. You've also called for the investigative report on the regularization or ratification of the contract, after it was subcontracted to West Blue, etc., to be made available to the public. All right. Thank you so much, the Venerable Daniel Domelevu, former Auditor General of... I'm
in a meeting. Can I beg permission and...
yes. So we are thanking you for your time. Thank you so much for making time. We are grateful. All right. So we will now want to watch a very brief portion of Manasseh's documentary. Then we'll come back in studio with my two guests. Then we'll take the discussion home.
The ERGMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ERMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots to ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
The ERDMS system that we call the Enterprise Relational Data Management System. It's a system, for example, that now allows all transactions in the industry to be made on a digital platform, okay, and which therefore allows us visibility, okay, and then also allows us to disable people from operating or lifting petroleum products once they are found to be in default of whatever statutory margins or taxes or levies that they haven't lived up to. So the ERDMS, the absence of the ERDMS at that time, where things were done manually and so on, were perhaps part of some of the regulatory challenges. But since that system was installed, a lot of that has been stemmed.
Without this electronic order, BRV cannot enter inside. And this information, when it comes from NPA portal, it is 100% correct.
Once you are able to track whatever is happening on the ERDMS to ICOMS, I mean, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, you are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis for a service whose impact or relevance is difficult to ascertain. SML Ghana Limited started what it calls revenue assurance services to the GRA in the downstream petroleum sector in June 2020. The managing director of the company, Christian Tetesoti, says SML is an offshoot of a timber company he will not name. In February 2023, SML Ghana Limited again claimed that it had saved 3 billion cedis due to its operations. The company has admitted the services it listed on its website as curtailing irregularities in the sector did not exist and deleted them from the website. Even if SML was carrying out those services and all the incremental revenue within the period of its operations was credited to the company's efforts, the amount would be 2.4 billion cedis and not 3 billion cedis as it claimed to have saved. When we put these figures to the managing director, he made a shocking admission.
That 3 billion,
That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I've told you that I'm not aware. Because when we were told about the publication, we even called the...
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, I don't even know website matter.
Also on the website of SML, it stated its services as follows. Quote, the SML digitalization of downstream petroleum product measurement has stemmed the tide of underreporting, diversion, and dilution of fuel products and general non-compliance in the petroleum sector. Officials of the Petroleum Division of the GRA expressed shock when we put the listed services of SML to them. Before we started our interview with the Managing Director of SML, Christian Soti, the GRA officials present raised the claim and SML management denied stating anywhere that the company was providing those services. When we pointed the claims to them from the company's website, the Managing Director of the company said they were mistakenly put on the website.
Oh no, we are not involved in diversion. We are only at the depot. If the thing is lifted, we don't know if GRA customs that will determine where it goes and they will follow us. We are not capable, we don't have men outside.
SML admitted its claims were false, and a few hours after our interview, those claims disappeared from the website of the company. The company does not check dilution, diversion, or underreporting, the 3 factors the company said accounted for revenue losses in the past. According to the GRA, the losses were recorded after the petroleum products were lifted.
All right, so you saw portions of that documentary, which started everything really by the Fourth Estate Manasseh and his colleagues, and that, including other things, triggered the president's contraction of KPMG to look into the matter. Now, KPMG has issued a report. We've not seen that report. We don't know how many pages it is, but the presidency, through his Director of Communications, has issued a 5-page statement titled President Akufo-Addo Act on KPMG's Findings and Recommendations on the Transactions between GRA and SML, where the president's statement summarizes or reproduces 9 of the findings and then 5 of the recommendations, and then the presidency also gave 4 directives based on the recommendations of the KPMG, and that's what you have on your screen. The presidency says that the president has accepted the recommendations of the KPMG and then directs as follows, just to read portions of them. They said the upstream petroleum audit and minerals audit services have not yet been commenced and no payments have been made in respect of those services. Therefore, they may be terminated. However, given that the upstream petroleum audit and minerals audit services could prevent significant revenue leakages, the president has directed that the ministry and the GRA conduct a comprehensive technical needs assessment, value for money assessment, and stakeholder engagement before implementing such services. 2, the transaction audit and external price verification services may be terminated. According to KPMG's findings, GRA obtained partial value or benefit for those services. This was also due to lack of monitoring on the part of the GRA to ensure that SML performed the services as stipulated in the contracts. The KPMG's investigation found that GRA has introduced external price verification tools as part of ICONs, among its other functions. This renders a reliance on SMLs for external price verification redundant. 3, there is a clear need for the downstream petroleum audit services provided by SML. GRA and the state have benefited from these services since SML commenced providing them. There has been an increase in volumes of 1.7 billion litres and an increase in tax revenue to the state of 2.45 billion Ghana cedis. KPMG has also observed that there were qualitative benefits, including 24/7 electronic real-time monitoring of outflow and partial monitoring of inflows of petroleum products at depots, where SML had installed flow meters and 6 levels of reconciliation done by SML. This minimizes the occurrence of under-declarations. However, it is important to review the contract for downstream petroleum audit services, particularly the fee structure. Given the experience and proficiency of SML over the last 4 years of providing this service, the President has directed that the fee structure be changed from a variable to a fixed fee structure. Other provisions of the contract worth reviewing include clauses on intellectual property rights, termination and service delivery expectations. 4, and lastly, SML's performance in any renegotiated contract should be monitored and evaluated periodically to ensure that it meets expectations. Any renegotiated contract should be compliant with Section 33 of the PFMA. All right, so this is what the presidency has said. I started with you, Khalid. You as an opposition person and a finance person as well, the presidency, many have said, has done what is right. There's a controversy, you contract a reputable agency or body to investigate or audit the process or the transaction. KPMG has done that. The report has been submitted to the president. Only that we don't know what's in the report. We are calling for it to be published. The president has issued a statement accepting the recommendations and giving directives. This should be applauded by you.
Why should it be applauded? Because the entire events surrounding SML is very bizarre. And I don't know why the presidency, or for that matter, key stakeholders or beneficiaries, in quotes, seem to be holding on to this for far too long, when I thought that they would have saved face the very time Manasseh actually had his expose.
But what should they do? I mean, it must be investigated. That's what we are doing.
Yeah, I'm coming to this. But in any case, I think we have a penchant in this country for going after low-hanging fruits when it comes to revenue collection. The mineral sector, right, oil and gas, extractives. These are the very low-hanging fruits when it comes to revenue collection. So I don't know why we need to contract a third body when the state has functional institutions such as the GRE, regulators of the downstream sector such as the MPA, regulators of the upstream sector such as the Petroleum Commission, and even the Minerals Commission in and of itself, right? They, with the right level of synergies and the manpower, can do what SML is termed to be doing. But you see, the greatest portion of revenue generation that we've been missing is the informal sector. I'm looking forward to the day when a company would emerge out of this government to say, okay, well, we are contracting this company who would be in a position to collect revenue from the informal sector. That is where we will be having justification, because that's where the struggle is. But if we go for low-hanging fruits and, award such contracts in certain bizarre conditions where we flout, financial regulations, we flout procurement regulations, and then the surprising thing is that an investigation has revealed the wrongdoing, and the presidency turns, because what SML says it does is that it does, quality assurance, it does audit. Now you appoint another firm, a duplicity, which, the big four accounting firms, are also engage in these issues. And the terms of their engagements, the awards of their contract does not seem very clear. And it's raising a lot of concerns, right? Or a lot of questions in concerned minds. This is worrying. More so when the report is out. And the first expectation each and every one of us should have is that...
So maybe if you see the report in its entirety...
But why have we not seen the report as of now?
All these attachments...
No, but what I'm saying is that what is in the report?
Yeah, so that's what we're making the call.
No, should we make the call? Should we make the call?
Well, it's not been voluntarily published.
Yeah, it should be, because we're all calling for accountability and transparency.
So that's why we are making the call.
We shouldn't even be making the call in the first place.
But we've gotten to a point where we have to make the call.
Why should we have to get to that point? That's our concern.
Yeah, but we are there now.
What is there to be hidden? No, what is there to be hidden is such a way that we have to. But again, interestingly, you look at all of these happenings around, there was no board ratification in the existence of the first leg of the contract between 2018, right, to about, it got ratified in 2023, thereabout. If you look at SML's website.
So it got ratified after the new system.
The new system, because then they had to go back to use the West Blue system, which was at the ports already, to do that. Again, which there are questions of illegality.
So they were subtracted by West Blue, or they got West Blue
substituted. Is that what?
To subtract, to subcontract.
Subcontract.
And when their contract ran out, then they took over.
Was that legal or was that appropriate? These are fundamental questions that we are all asking.
That's why the PPA ratified it or regularized.
Okay, so then you look at the SML website and it reads that at SML, we are underpinned by robust financial resources and steadfast commitment to rigorous corporate governance. That's a very fundamental statement. And you look at everything around these contracts, there's no corporate governance in it. So if you're advertising yourselves in this manner and basic corporate governance is not reflective within the very contract you tend to be engaged with, then again,
why do you blame SML? They are talking about corporate governance, etc., on their own part. Why do you blame them?
No, but you're advertising yourselves to be doing that. I'm not blaming them.
Yes.
But if you're advertising yourself to be doing that, whatever you are engaged with, you should be exuding that. You owe the public that legitimate expectation.
Yeah, but as far as they are concerned, their contract got ratified and regularized. So that is due process.
When they ask questions, and in the expose in Manasseh's documentary, you could see people fumbling. Right. So you look at all of these things, and it then tends to ask the question of what is it in this deal that we are hiding? Should we even be here in the first place? For me, we undermine regulatory bodies, right? When we go after these low-hanging fruits, issues that the MPA could have handled, issues that the Petroleum Commission should have handled, issues that the Mineral Commission should have handled. So why are these institutions existing in the first place? Where we have a very huge wage bill of the public sector, we're employing people to do what in these agencies when this is their very core mandate? So we need a company such as SML, whose track record we are unable to even trace in the sector, right? So can government agencies? So the fundamental question again you need to ask is that they say they use real-time tracking. Are we not having that at the MPA already? Could the MPA not do this? If whatever device is required, how much does it cost? Already we are moving plants around, power plants around the country at a cost of 38 million, and yet we think that SML contract, state body could not handle that. So for me, we're even bastardizing our own state institutions. And you look at this SML saga, watchers of the market could also infer that the brouhaha that surrounded the GRE boss could have emanated from that. And did we really need that? Right?
Which brouhaha? The contract, the extension of...
The extension of the contract, the backdating it, right? The board being dissolved. So as of now, I'm even confused. You may help, Salom, whether the new Commissioner General is in an acting capacity or is the actual Commissioner General, because at the time of her appointment, there was no existing board. So these are all fundamental questions, and these are key institutions of state. But if we tend to bastardize them in this regard and tend to, operationalize them in such bizarre circumstances, also her age is being questioned as to whether, because Demulevo, who we just spoke to, was written to on a green letter by the Executive Secretary of the President asking him to resign, to proceed on leave because he had reached the statutory retirement age. And you have someone who has reached the statutory retirement age as a revenue, collecting body of the state, who you appoint to be Commissioner General. Are you telling us that they are not capable hands within GRE at the higher hierarchy of managerial performance that you could not put in that role? Why that kind of a selection? So all of these things are feeding into a very interesting narrative, which would breed conspiracy theories that we don't need.
I see. Let me take a short break. After the break, I'll hear from Eric, and then Manasseh, then we'll wrap up the conversation. This is the big issue. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. This is a big issue. We are dealing with the matter of the SML. Already we've spoken to, or we've heard from Manasseh Azuri Awuni, who is the journalist in the middle of all of that, the investigative journalist with the Fourth Estate, which exposed this together with a few of his colleagues. We've heard from former Auditor General Daniel Domolobi. He's raised other issues about KPMG itself appointed to do this. He's asking whether they went through the procurement process to get them selected and all of that. He's even asking for the processes of regularization and ratification of the contract, SML's contract with GRA after West Blue left the scene. But we've thrown that out, and we're expecting to hear from authority on that. Maybe Eric will have some solutions for us. Eric, this does appear, of course, presidents accepting the recommendations and all of that. These things don't always come, they don't come often like this, that the president will accept recommendations from an investigation and give directives. But we do not know what is in the whole report. Do you think the president, or don't you think the president should make this report, available so we all look at it and think for ourselves or decide for ourselves what the direction is?
Salom, you know, this our current democratic dispensation has a number of things that for me, as far as I'm concerned, we would definitely have to celebrate. You know, and sometimes when we have conversations on political platforms like this, then we move away from the substance of the matter and then still do politics with it. This is an audit that was commissioned by the president, you know, because some issues came up and the president thought that, well, I don't have the full facts. I need to make sure that to make a decision on this particular matter, let's get an independent and audit firm to do this audit so that we can come to a certain conclusion and then we'll make decisions based on that. And so, of course, if you don't want to even commend the president for taking that bold decision, you cannot move away from an objective analysis of why and how even the initial, if you like, contracting of SML happened. You know, and this is a country that we've always had this conversation about, where we have revenue shortfalls, we have leakages and loopholes within the revenue assurance space. And we need to put things and systems in place to ensure that people who are doing business are able to, one, genuinely pay the tax that is due the state, so that we can use it for the things that we're all clamoring for. You understand? So for me, I look at it from these conversations on a big picture perspective. How is it that government made a decision to go this route so that we can interrogate that? Then you can now move away from that to issues to do with what even the former Auditor General was talking about in terms of procurement.
What he was talking about, if the report is released, we'll see all of that.
Yeah,
so why don't we release the report?
But I mean, we'll get there. And then you now go to the issue of, okay, a certain procurement process, if it meant that the procurement process was duly followed and all of this. So you're dealing with a plethora of issues, right? But in terms of the big picture conversation, in terms of where we've come as a democracy, where you have somebody showing exemplary leadership when it comes to saying that, yes, this is something that, these are decisions that were taken by persons within my government, under the purview of this particular government, yet I'm prepared to get an audit agency that is an independent one to go through the process so that we would go and see what's happened. Now the presidency now says that a report has been issued. These are the recommendations. These are based on what the recommendation, the findings came out. These are the recommendations of the presidency. So you can now interrogate the decisions and even those recommendations to see if it's fit for purpose or not. And the reason why I'm quite passionate about this conversation is that as a people, sometimes we focus too much on the politics and the negativity of certain issues when they come up. And then we go back to having the same challenges again. I'll tell you one. In the last 20 years or so, 25 years or so, there was this attempt to move gradually to, for example, privatizing our energy sector space. We had this conversation with the Millennium Challenge account. We went all the way to the PDS. Now, whatever issues, challenges that we had with PDS meant that as a people, we made that decision that, we want to throw everything away. When in terms of what it meant, in terms of the principle behind having an institution like PDS, had been chucked away. And then full circle, 7 years down the line or whatever, we start having the same issues that 20, 30 years ago we were grappling with. And I always say that, you see, even in terms of best practice, this whole conversation about revenue assurance of your downstream and upstream market, there are examples that abound in certain places.
Yeah, but you see, the SML is saying that they don't do any of those. But declaration and all of that. But
that, you see, the conversation here now is that GRA as an institution has contracted SML. It's been clear, it's been pointed out that there were some challenges in terms of procurement. They have decided that they will go through a certain process to have it ratified. Now, we've moved the conversation to a proper interrogation of what it is that SML was contracted to do, the performance of SML, if well and truly, prior to SML being contracted. What were the revenues that were coming into the national kitty? And then we can interrogate that and cure the specific issues, the mischief that maybe we might find as we go along. You understand? Otherwise, as a people, what tends to happen is that anytime we have challenges within a particular sector or a particular decision making, that's the whole point of
Eric,
governance.
I think the question is, should the presidency release the report or not? That's what Ghanaians are asking. We want to see I want to read the report for myself, so I understand what it is, rather than depending on what the presidency has told us.
No, but the point is that you see, you can make that call. I mean, I will not basically begrudge you if you make the call that.
But do you want to see the report yourself, or you've seen it?
Well, I mean, the point is that, you see, the thing is that the substance of this conversation is that a report was commissioned. I mean, an audit was commissioned. Mm-hmm. The presidency has stated that categorically and is acting on the recommendations of that particular report and has gone to the next level to issue its own recommendations. Now, as to bringing the audit report, the full KPMG, into the public domain, as far as I'm concerned, yes, it's a legitimate call for anybody to ask for that particular conversation. But I'm saying that let's stick to the facts. Let's not, you see, I'm saying this because in 2015, under John Mahama, when they themselves had actually commissioned a commission of inquiry and in the Judgment Debt Saga, their own commission, almost every recommendation that was made by that particular commission was debunked, was disagreed with that.
We sacked them.
But
because you said you were going to do better.
you see, that is why consistency.
Let me conclude with
you. See, consistency and objectivity is important in this analysis and this conversation. So in one breath, one that actually is going. How am I trying to pick it? And that is the example between an MPP administration and an NDC administration.
Very well.
And
Manasseh, you have the final word.
Never accept responsibility.
Manasseh, you have the final word on this. Bullet points. What's your next action? The presidency has issued a report. Of course, I've seen what you've written on the report. SML has also come out to debunk portions of the report that they were not paid 1 billion and that the figure was exclusive of taxes, etc. Bullet points. What are your next steps, or what do you expect next beyond the report being made public? Few seconds.
I expect this contract to be cancelled. It is not something that should continue because it is not in the interest of the public. So both what has been recommended for termination and even the existing downstream one, they both have to be cancelled. There has to be further investigation for money to be retrieved because they kept saying in this case they did partial fulfillment of the contract terms, and I don't think we can pay somebody fully and they would give us partial results. And finally, certain persons should be made to face the law. The former Maslog boss has been jailed. What has sent her to jail is a tiny fraction of what has been wasted in this SML scandal. Thank you.
Very well. Thanks so much, Manasseh Azuri Awuni, investigative journalist with the Fourth Estate, and his colleagues did this investigative work. Also, you heard Khalid Sharif, economist, assistant professor of financial management, and member of the NDC campaign team. Daniel Demolevu, former Auditor General, earlier was on the show, and Eric Chum, member of the MPP communications team. These have been my guests on this part of the show. Thank you so much for doing the viewing and the listening. My name is Selom Adunu. Catch you same time next week. Have a good afternoon.